This is the Bax Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Grant, it's Monday. We made it. The NFL draft is in the bag. The best sports weekend since I don't know when is finally concluded, Grant. And I've never been so disappointed in my life. Honestly. Probably one of the worst weekends in sports I've ever been a part of.
Really?
Honestly.
But why is that? How does that make you feel?
Because first of all, before we jump into everything, the NFL draft, okay, no drama. No big trades, no Marcus Mariota doing anything. Jameis Winston going first overall, whatever. The Kentucky Derby, it was Pharaoh, I think was the name of the guy that won. And it was,
I don't know, he's won it like 3 times, and then the horse that won it was the favorite.
Yeah, so the fact that the favorite actually won, it was like, okay, that was kind of boring, because I took the field over the favorite. And
the horse had a cool name, though.
I'm pretty sure it was Pharaoh.
No,
it wasn't Pharaoh? I don't know. You look it up. I'll continue to rant. And then you had the main event, as it were, the Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao fight, which looked like 2 grown men slapping each other, pillow fighting is basically what it looked like.
American Pharaoh.
American Pharaoh. It's like American Woman, American Pharaoh, kind of something like that.
American
but it was
Woman!
Yes, exactly. But I was just solely disappointed because there was nothing that really jumped out at me. There's the NHL playoffs were kind of exciting, but none of those games are really that close. The NBA playoffs were very exciting. Major League Soccer.
Had that one really close. The Clippers game.
The Clippers-Spurs game was big.
It came down to a final shot.
It did. Chris Paul. That was probably the most exciting thing. And Chris Paul was playing on a bum leg during that game too. Kind of like I am right now. I've got a bum foot after indoor soccer last night, which you made it through a season, Grant. Your team didn't go to the finals, but how was your reaction to it?
We won a game, and we didn't have like anybody that played soccer.
That's true.
And we won a game playing against people that had soccer. Granted, one of our substitutes ended up being somebody who used to play for the soccer team, but that's irrelevant. Almost everybody has never played like soccer before. I haven't played since 5th grade, and I was on fire last night. I actually did really well. And the one time you saw me, that was like one of the few goals I let in all
and
night.
I was very proud of you for that. So now
we played back-to-back games too. And that was tiring.
I was proud of you. I was hoping both of our teams were going to be able to pull out the wins, and then we would have met each other in the finals and had a showdown for the ages.
And then both of our teams lost.
But yeah, you lost by 2, I lost by 1. It wasn't awful. But anyway, Grant, it was an exciting time for us at least.
It was fun
to cap off a very busy sports weekend.
If you get a chance, try it out. It's good stuff.
Futsal. It's not traditional indoor soccer. It's a lot more fun. The ball is smaller. It's a fast-paced game, and it's an enjoyable time.
It's good stuff.
It is. It really is, Grant. Well, we have a full show today for you today, Grant, and for our viewing audience and our listening audience. Connor Christensen will be here later on to talk about his fight corner. He'll probably be reviewing the fight of the century, as they called it. It was really boring, honestly. And then he'll talk about the Minnesota draft class as well from the NFL draft. And then Megan Landvatter will be on the show in just a little while to talk about the Green Bay Packers draft selections, Grant. But before we get to any of that, Grant, where can the people find us on social media?
They can find us on Facebook at the Bax Grant Sports Show. You can head over to Twitter at BG Sports Show and find us there. You can email us at gmail.com at bgsportshow@gmail.com. And you can also Instagram us, and by using the hashtag #TheBaxGrantSportsShow, that picture will show up on Sports Radio America.
Oh, yeah, you know it. And you can also listen to us. You can download our podcast on iTunes. You can listen to us live right here at 9 a.m. Central on Spreaker.com. You can also listen to us from 12 to 3 Eastern on SportsRadioAmerica.com and Live 365 and TuneIn. And then you can also find our show on iHeartRadio. And you can watch the show on thecube.com. So another way for you to keep involved with us. Many different ways, Grant.
And on the Cube, search the Bax and Grant Sports Show number 60.
60. And a quick announcement before we get into the show as well. We will be taking, we were going to announce this later on, but May 15th, for those of you that are wondering, will be our last big show. We'll be taking an extended leave of absence for 4 weeks, a.k.a. I'm getting married. So we will be off the air for a few weeks, but we will be coming back sporadically throughout the summer. It won't be the normal 3 times a week show. We're hoping to do maybe once a week kind of show. It'll be a little jumbled at first. Grant's going to be in North Dakota. I'll be in Wisconsin, hopefully with a job. We're going to figure something out, but we don't want to completely go away for the summer. But May 15th, it's going to be at a different time than 9 a.m. Central. But it's going to be a big, fun show. We're going to hope to pack the studio with guests and just kind of have a ball, as it were, for the last official show for a while to close out the school year, but also to close out the spring season, as it were, also. So May 15th, keep that in mind. We will send more details your way as we get them. All right, Grant, the NFL draft in the bag. The Green Bay Packers did a not too terrible job. Some of the other teams around the NFL not doing too awful, although Mel Kiper Jr. rated that the first pick for the Tennessee Titans a C+, a.k.a. Marcus Mariota. So he was apparently not very happy with Marcus Mariota getting drafted by the Titans, or he just doesn't like Mariota, or Mel Kiper is just a crazy old man that doesn't know what he's talking about.
That's weird, because I felt like the Titans pick was a much better pick than the Buccaneers pick because of all the problems that Jameis Winston has off the field, everything like that, and you can't be successful on the field when you can't even be on the field because you have all these allegations about you.
Yes. I have something that I found, Grant, that I wanted to share with you. I was at the grocery store yesterday, and I was looking at the draft magazines because I was like, maybe they'll be cheap now. They're still super expensive, because even though the draft's over. I wanted to read you the weak points on Jameis Winston as of, I think it's Athlon Sports was theirs. This is what his weak points were, according to the draft magazine. Jameis Winston makes woefully bad decisions when trying to create on his own. Loses a lot of strong points when he's on the move. Gets careless with the ball. Poor decision maker, especially early in games. Loses track of the ball side of the defense and will throw into heavy traffic against his body. Inconsistent mechanics. Major red flags off the field. So, anyway.
Doesn't sound like
Doesn't sound like a number one draft pick candidate in my book, but what do I know? I just host a radio show.
Right. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
You know nothing.
Exactly.
Well, and then going back to the Tennessee Titans, they needed a quarterback because their quarterback retired, and they didn't have all the means of really acquiring a decent enough quarterback to go and trade with because they're still a rebuilding team right now. So they really needed to draft one, and they really couldn't
or at
do
least
much else.
surround the guy they have with better weapons.
I was thinking that also a good option would be to trade for better players, but I'm still okay with them trading Marcus Mariota. I feel like
you think they should trade Marcus Mariota?
I would pick up Marcus Mariota.
Okay, I'm like, they just drafted him. Nope, you're done.
Pick him up. Pick him up, not trade him.
Yeah, exactly. But with the Tennessee Titans, according to SI.com, they gave them a B on their draft class. Not awful. You know, they're in the same kind of class as the Washington Redskins, who also got a B as well. Looking at some of the other big names, the Buccaneers got a B overall with their draft. St. Louis Rams getting an A. So I think they had a very good one, but you can make the argument of Todd Gurley. But then we talked about it on Friday with the Rams drafting Todd Gurley, what that meant, for Zach Stacy and Trey Mason. And then we heard that Zach Stacy filed for a trade request, and then he got, I think, next to going to the Jets, or next to going to the Raiders, the worst place you can go in the NFL is the Jets, and that's where he ended up. So he is now a New York Jet.
Have fun over there.
That's your own fault. If you'd have just kept your mouth shut, Stacy, I'm sure they would have figured something out for you.
Well, he gets to live in New York.
He gets to live in the Big Apple, I guess. But there's not much.
Places.
Yeah, I mean, look at the receivers they have, though. They have Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker, and Jeremy Curley. I mean, they've got three good wide receivers now. I don't know who's going to throw the ball around there.
Right,
probably
exactly.
Geno Smith. I'm not exactly sure. But the draft as a whole, in terms of drama, not a whole lot. Nothing too exciting.
Right. Well, one big thing that was a problem for me with the draft was the Indianapolis Colts. For me, one of the biggest flops in the draft was using their number one draft pick on a wide receiver, and the Indianapolis Colts already have a decent way in the means of wide receivers.
Sure,
because you have Andre Johnson, T.Y. Hilton, and.
Is Reggie Wayne still technically on the team? Has he retired yet, or I think he's still on the team. Either way, it's an old version of Reggie Wayne if he is on the team. So I get Andre Johnson's not too young either. I get where they're coming from, but trying to give Andrew Luck more offensive firepower. But at the same time, I'm really not sure what exactly that's going to do. Wow, I love it when things just go rogue on me. That makes me so excited when my tabs just start speaking to me. This is why I can't have nice things. Anyway, sorry about that. But no, the Indianapolis Colts get a C+ according to SI.com. Drafting a wide receiver in the first round is questionable when you think that maybe sharpening their defense might be better because, let's be honest, until Tom Brady and Peyton Manning retire, you need to be able to have the defense that can shut them down. I think the Colts have a good enough offense to get by for now, but defensively, there's still things that need to happen for them to work things out for them. So, with that being said, Grant, any other thoughts before we bring in Megan Landvatter?
Nope.
Okay, well, with that being said, let's bring in our Green Bay Packers aficionado. She makes us look like children when it comes to Packer knowledge and just general sports
really
knowledge.
does.
But let's bring in Megan Landvatter. How are you today, Megan?
I'm good, and yourself?
Oh, not too bad. We're excited to have you here
Thanks.
talking about the Green Bay Packers. So the draft is officially over. The Packers going ahead and drafting multiple people as we knew they would, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which, let's be honest, that's probably what needs the most work when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback on offense and Eddie Lacy's your running back and Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson. Like, there's not a whole lot of spots to fill offensively.
No.
So give us your thoughts and reactions to this year's draft class.
Oh, Ted. No, it was decent. I give him a C. Average. It was okay.
Ooh.
Not thrilled about the first pick, Demarius Randall.
Why not?
Because, here's the thing. So, first of all, he's a safety, right? Okay, so we actually need a corner. He could convert to corner. That's a different story. But we drafted Clinton Dix. Morgan Burnett is currently under contract, so safety's kind of okay. Plus, Randall has shoulder issues, and he is a smaller player, meaning that he's going to have to use his shoulder a lot. And
He's 5'11". How is that small?
Because, here's the thing, though. Because the Chargers did the same thing last year.
I suppose.
Okay, last year they did the same thing. Kind of, whatever. And the guy had shoulder problems. He was out after 4 starts and done for the year. So I'm a little nervous about the shoulder thing.
I don't know if Randall's going to be a consistent starter, though.
Also, well, I don't know. Also, look up Randall. Okay, the first 2 picks, fun fact for you.
Please.
If you look them up, the first thing that does not, well, now it does because they've been drafted in the NFL. But prior to that, baseball player, basketball player.
Oh,
The
perfect.
second guy that the Packers drafted had only played 1 year of football. He was actually a basketball player. So I found that kind of interesting. I mean, not necessarily meaning anything, but fun fact for the day.
Okay.
We have a baseball player
The more
and
you
a
know,
basketball
Grant.
player.
You know?
So, it was
Knowledge.
okay.
Yeah, knowledge is power. Okay.
We waited till the 4th round to get a linebacker. I'm happy with the linebacker we selected.
You are, because I've heard mixed reviews about Jake Ryan.
No, I'm happy about it.
Okay.
He'll do well. But also, we drafted a wide receiver.
Ty Montgomery? The bigger version of Randall Cobb is what he's being called.
Yeah.
But I also heard he
Yeah.
might play running back, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. That's what they were saying, is because at Stanford he spent time at wide receiver and running back, so they said he could be used in that option as like a better version of James Starks.
Okay. I don't know.
I've
heard that his impact is primarily for the special teams.
That's what the biggest thing was. That
Which obviously could use some improvement. I believe the Packers were the worst special teams. Can anyone confirm
Wouldn't-
that?
I can neither confirm nor deny that, but
They
I
were
would
one of the
probably
worst, you could
confirm
say.
that. We'll send our scout to look at it. Connor's in the studio. He will look.
They were 32nd in the NFL. So
And special teams play in terms of like return, like yards per return. You're saying, or what?
I
Special
don't
teams
need,
as whole.
just
Just
the
probably
worst.
Google the worst special teams
Just the
in
worst.
2014. Now, what about the surprise pick, round 5? The new Brett is on his way to Green Bay. Brett Hundley from UCLA. Everybody was shocked.
Thrilled.
First of all, that he fell this far in the draft.
Right.
He was considered the 3rd best quarterback in the draft, over Bryce Petty and some of those guys, and those guys went earlier.
It was kind of like, yeah, it was a surprise, and it's like, yeah, why are you picking up a quarterback? You already have
The Packers are good for at least a quarterback every year.
right, and there's nothing really wrong with that because they really do well with building up quarterbacks, and especially with the 3rd best quarterback in the draft dropping back all the way to round 5, it's kind of like a why not situation.
Yeah.
Because Aaron Rodgers is going to be around forever, and hey, if he's not going to stick around that long and he can prove that he's a decent enough quarterback, you might be able to get some like players in compensation for him later.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a no-brainer.
Yeah, and he's 30. Rodgers is 31 right now, so he's got 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
If he stays perfectly healthy,
He's got about 6 or 7
I'd say
years.
at
Max.
the most.
I like the pick. I've been saying for months now that the Packers need to get a decent backup quarterback, so developing him, I'm thrilled about. I'm excited.
I'm excited about it, although he's a very non-Packer quarterback. He played most of his college career in the pistol formation. He reminded me, watching the tape on him, he looked a lot like Colin Kaepernick with the read option a lot. He kind of resembles that. He's got good speed. I don't know how good of a passer he is. Some of the throws that were on tape were pretty easy to make, in all honesty. I didn't see any wow moments like, whoa, he threaded the needle on that one, or whoa, he really bombed that ball over the defender. A lot of the throws he made, at least on film that I saw, were pretty routine that you're supposed to make.
Right. Well, that can come with development, but also you have to think that the Packers are also need to start developing Scott Tolzien, because they also have him sitting in the lineup.
What needs to happen is they need to make a decision regarding Scott Tolzien, because it's been kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out with him as a whole, and so you really have to decide. Are we going to put the time and effort into developing him? If not, then you focus on Hundley. But they need to make a decision.
They do have that fourth quarterback, too. I can't think of his name, but they're the Whitewater quarterback, UW Whitewater. So they technically have 4 quarterbacks on the roster going into training camp. We'll see what happens. Matt Flynn is in their back pocket if they really need to bring him back, because he's a free agent right now, and nobody's going to touch Matt Flynn, which proves, Grant, he's not that good a quarterback if nobody else wanted to go pick him up.
I'm not saying
you were always you were the biggest
Matt
Flynn advocate against me when I picked Scott Tolzien. You really are.
I'm just saying that he played well in a couple of games, so he's not a bad quarterback. He shows potential, but one big thing with him is he has a consistent shoulder injury that hasn't been really...
Don't we all?
That hasn't been really publicized that much, but he does have a shoulder...
or is it his elbow?
Or is it just
I heard a shoulder, but it could be an elbow.
It's his upper body. Just from the waist up, he's a mess.
Hey, that's a hockey thing. Just calling it an upper body and then calling it a day. But anyway, that's my thing about Matt Flynn. But we're not going to get into that any further.
I will ask you this, Megan. The sixth round for the Packers involved drafting a fullback. I just want to say his last name, Ripkowski.
Yes.
I hope he gets a jersey. I would love an Aaron Ripkowski jersey. That's such a Packers last name. Oh,
what about
Ripkowski?
It is.
You're going to have Kuhn and Ripkowski playing fullback.
Yeah.
I think the Packers are the only team that have 2 fullbacks on their roster currently.
Basically,
positive.
Yeah, they drafted him, and now, unfortunately,
I
John
don't
Kuhn's job security is
Well,
threatened.
he just signed a contract for
1 year.
But for 1 year.
Hey,
but then,
it's a
then
year.
you get rid of, and I love John Kuhn. I love
That's
him
what
a lot.
Tebow just did. He just signed a 1-year contract. That
Right.
doesn't mean he's going to make it through camp.
I guess not.
That's why you sign players. You can't sign players for a week and be like, we'll see what happens. You have to sign a minimum for a year, and then you can cut them at camp.
Packers special teams is kind of low on the
Was
list.
it low? Okay.
It's not.
It's not the worst.
It's not the worst?
It's not even in the top worst.
Really?
Oh, wow.
It's
Okay.
second.
Okay.
I could have sworn at one part of the season we were.
So
Maybe we bounced back a little bit.
What I've been seeing consistently is the Lions, the Bills, the Texans, the Raiders.
We're the worst for special teams.
Okay.
So the
Well,
Packers,
The Saints have
I
been thrown
apologize.
in there
it's all good.
times.
I apologize.
Either way, though, it wasn't stellar. When kickoff returns and punt returns would happen, it was kind of a flip a coin. Let's see if we get 5 yards or if we're going to lose 20.
So if you didn't hear that, the
And
Packers
also
were
all our mistakes
22nd.
and stuff.
Yes.
According to one source.
According to one source.
Okay, I believe you.
So, Megan, the Packers wait until their very last pick to draft a tight end.
Yes. Wasn't even supposed to be drafted, but there it is. We drafted him.
Yes, from
Yeah.
UAB. He's kind of like a rare collectible card now. UAB doesn't have a football team
Yeah.
anymore, so it's like
He's
maybe they just
special.
wanted to jump on the bandwagon. It's like a shiny in Pokemon. Like, oh, I got a shiny. Jeez. Anyway, why wait until the 6th round to finally draft a tight end? Why not take him in the 3rd round?
Okay, because this is it. Because Ted Thompson doesn't draft for needs. He drafts the best player available. Supposedly. That's what a lot of people believe. And clearly, Ted Thompson waiting to draft a linebacker and a tight end proves that he is not all about filling the needs. There was a lot of people upset that he waited so long for a linebacker. I am happy, however, that both of those positions were drafted. We do need a tight end. We clearly need a linebacker.
Clearly.
Well, my thing is, I don't see the clear need for a linebacker. Yes, they do need to fill the linebacker position, but the secondary, in my opinion, was the area on the team that needed most help.
I think you lost your mind, Grant. Did you not watch a single game last year?
I think the secondary was the.
Megan
watched,
is about to slap you.
I watched most of the games last year, and I felt like the secondary was the one.
Okay, so you'd have Clay Matthews filling middle linebacker the entire.
I'm
the
okay
next
with
season.
that. I'm okay with that. My thing was if if you can, what I'm okay with, if you get one linebacker,
All right.
which they did, they went and got one linebacker, and you can switch them. But my thing is, if you just draft a linebacker, that's not going to automatically fix your problems. I think they needed to work on the secondary.
More than one.
They spent a couple picks in the secondary, and I felt like that is where they needed the most help. I think it was a wise decision to draft there. I don't agree with wide receiver going in the third round. I felt like they should have drafted a tight end in the third round or sooner.
So you
not
don't want them to
necessarily.
draft a linebacker at all? Just leave it.
Look
No,
at, okay,
I didn't
for a second.
I'm
here.
not saying that they shouldn't have drafted a linebacker. I'm just saying that it's okay that it went to the fifth round. I'm saying that the secondary, it was a wise decision to go the first 2 rounds instead of drafting a linebacker the first round. That's mainly what I'm saying.
Okay, let me look at this really fast. Looking at the Packers' depth chart from what it was going into the season last year, let me tell you who's left. Clay Matthews and Mike Neal are still around. There's guys named Jerron Elliott and Carl Bradford. They never saw the field. Sam Barrington is still around. And Julius
That's not
Peppers
much,
and
though.
Nick Perry. So those are, 4 or 5 players out of the, 9 that we had. And most of those players, Peppers has maybe got another year left in him. Clay
Right.
Matthews should play on the outside. Sam Barrington was a 7th-round draft pick last year that
He
turned
didn't
out to
do
be
much.
relative. He turned out to be okay at the end of the year. But even still, Brad Jones is gone. A.J. Hawk is gone. Well, no real loss there.
Can I say? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Thank God, Brad Jones.
Yeah, Brad Jones is the Eagles' problem now, so they'll get horrible tackling from him, or maybe he won't even start. But either way, looking at the secondary, you only lose Tremont Williams and Devon House. You still
But those were main players for the
Yes,
defense.
we
Williams
needed-
more
we
than
needed-
House, though.
Yeah, we needed to replace Williams. I agree, going for a corner, but to say that they don't need a linebacker,
I didn't
come
say,
on.
they needed a linebacker, but they needed help in the secondary more.
I think they needed to fill the inside
Do
spot
they need to
first.
double down in the first 2 rounds to fill the secondary first?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Nope. Nope.
I don't agree with going for a safety first round. They should have gone for a corner first round.
Should have
though.
gone for a linebacker first.
They should have gone for a corner first round. Linebacker, they don't need as much as they need secondary needs.
All right, well, I'm gonna extinguish this fire before the studio catches. But anyway, thank you so much, Megan Landvatter, for stopping by. You can find her work on DairylandExpress.com and also SidelinesApp.com as well. And your Twitter handle is what, ma'am?
At Landvatter 812.
At Landvatter812. All right, thank you so much, Megan. Your 2 cents on the Brewers firing Ron Roenicke before we kick you out.
Yes, I would just like to say that I am super excited about the Craig Council pick. If it's not official yet, no, 10:30 apparently, but that's the word, and if it's true, which I believe it is, Council's great, so congrats to the Brewers.
All right, well, she is Megan Landvatter. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, the tides have changed, swooping through Milwaukee, and then the NHL playoffs starting to heat up as they always do. We'll be right back. This is the Bax Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Bax Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Grant, I swear, I need to separate you and Connor. I need to separate you and Megan. Like, can we not have any guests on the show that you don't try to fight with?
No, I hate everybody,
shock
including
fighting
you.
Everybody. To be a guest on the show, you have to beat Grant in shock fighting.
That wouldn't be too hard, so let's not say that.
I feel like that's what it's turning into at times. I swear, I really don't know what Packers team you were watching last year. The secondary, Grant?
The secondary needed help. To me, the secondary always disappoints me every single season, and I feel like the linebacking core does not need as much help as the secondary, because I can't remember time and time again of blown defensive coverages by whoever they decided to throw in
because
there.
the linebackers and the defensive line were not applying proper pressure. That's why.
No, it's because the safety and the corner had miscommunication time and time again. And then you have a wide receiver walking in with nobody covering from the underneath and above him, and then they just lob it in the end zone for a touchdown. I saw that all season.
I mean, maybe. I think you, Megan, and I, and Connor should all go in on the NFL Rewind package, and then we can go back and watch film on games.
All right.
I think that would be sweet. Anyway, Grant, speaking of disappointment, the Milwaukee Brewers know it all too well, starting off their season at 7-18. But shocking news, Grant, as manager Ron Roenicke has been fired. Oh, I'm sorry, he's been relieved. That's the professional way to say it. He got canned. He done.
He got
See ya. He was given his marching orders, and he is no longer a part of the organization.
Or dismissal.
I'm sorry, yes. According to Ken Rosenthal, he was dismissed. But the rumors, as of this morning at 10:30 a.m. Central, the new manager will be announced, and all signs point to former Brewer player Craig Counsell. Now, first of all, let me get your reaction to Roenicke being fired. Good move, bad move. They're 7-18, Grant. Is it the players' fault? Is it Roenicke's fault? Who's to blame for pretty much the last 100 games, though, because we saw the Brewers be the best team in baseball mid-season last year and then just drop to the bottom?
Well, I mean, yes, but that's Brewers baseball. Brewers have done that constantly. And any Brewers fan would agree with me, because not just with Roenicke, but that has happened time and time again. And as a Cardinals fan, I know, because I benefit from it. The team benefits from it because they do not perform well in the beginning of the season. And it's like, oh yeah, we'll just wait for the Brewers to collapse after the All-Star break. And then it happens almost every single season.
That's kind of like us as Packer fans saying that when the Bears have a hot start, we're like, give it time. Or the Lions, like, they're just traditional. They won't finish off strong.
Pretty much. But my thing with Roenicke is that his first season with the Brewers, they went 96-66. They made it to the playoffs, and they did really well. And they have done well in years past, almost making it to the playoffs, even though that doesn't, it's like almost making it. They've made it to the playoffs. They lost to the Cardinals, just putting that out. Anyway, but I don't agree with releasing him. I think he is a fairly decent manager. I think it's a lot to do with the players, because...
Surprised you're not doing this segment in your Cardinals jersey, for God's sake.
Here,
I
could put it on. Just
this
give
is
me a second.
ridiculous.
I said they should keep him. I think it's more the players. They need to rebuild. That's my opinion.
I think they need to bring back Ned Yost. That's who they need to bring back.
Hey, that's mine. That is mine.
I know. You brought in the Ned Yost bobblehead for our studio.
I still respect
Where are the Milwaukee
Brewers.
bobbleheads?
I always forget them.
You bought them and you didn't.
I always forget them.
Anyway, so the rumor is that Craig Counsell will be named the new manager of the Milwaukee Brewers at 10:30 a.m. Central. At least that is what all of what Fox Sports Wisconsin is saying. Counsell, a former Brewers player, played for the team sparingly throughout the mid to late 2000s. Not a bad player, kind of a random off-the-wall player. Nothing too crazy special, but at the same time, if Craig Counsell made a big play, you knew at least the name.
Right. Well, because he was kind of a spot to fill in the field when they needed him. He was consistently clutch, I would say. If the Brewers needed him, they would call on him, and he could every once in a while produce a pretty big play or hit pretty consistently where they would need him. He wasn't a big player, but he was a decent enough player where the Brewers needed something, they could call on him, and they know they would get it most of the time.
Yes, yep. So we'll see. We know Counsell has been around the Brewers organization for a while. We'll see if that helps. But Grant, going back to that original question, if it's Roenicke or the players, The article that we've been looking at for on fansided.com, the writer, let's see if I know how to pronounce his last name, Connor Mulroney. Oh, he's a nice guy. I've met him before. Anyway, he is suggesting that the issues with the team are more so Carlos Gomez's lack of production than actually Roenicke.
Well, and he's been injured, so.
He has, and Gomez has battled injuries. We saw Gene Segura get beamed in the head yesterday, and we don't know how long he'll be out. Ryan Braun was out for a period of time after opening day. I forget what he hurt, but he was out for a short amount of time. So you've seen some of the big stars be hurt right away, trading away Giovanni Garriotto, depending on how important
well, that needed
is
to
or
happen,
not.
So, I mean, he wasn't a good pitcher. In my
Yes,
opinion.
and Kyle Loesch has not lived up to the hype this year that he has
he
so
hasn't.
far. It's still early in the year, but the first few games he's played, he's gotten completely smoked almost every time he's on the mound. So, regardless of what ends up happening, I wonder if this new change will actually bring good to the Brewers organization.
And then shouldn't it be much of a shock to the Brewers that the pitching hasn't been as extremely well, and that shouldn't be a reason to bring in firing Roenicke, because the pitching has always been a problem that Brewers have needed to fix. It has never been. The Brewers have never had a scary pitching staff. There have been holes. I'm trying to remember the name. The closer that the Brewers had for a while. That was
John
good.
Axford?
Yes, Axford, and just kind of goes to show that he had a great season. He was one of the best closers in the league. You couldn't hit on him, and then the next season he was absolute garbage.
Yeah.
The last couple seasons he was absolute garbage.
I think it's kind of this weird effect that when you are either a Milwaukee Bucks or a Milwaukee Brewers player, you don't ever play exceptionally well with the team, but as soon as you go to another team, you're one of the best players in the league. It's consistent. You look at, even in the NBA, Monta Ellis, a former Bucks player, a star for the Dallas Mavericks now. You look at Andrew Bogut. He's not amazing, but he's one of the best players on the floor for Golden State now as they continue to push in the NBA playoffs. And then looking at Brewer players as well, I can't think of all the pitchers, but they've had some pretty good pitchers come through and then end up, not doing too well with the Brewers, but then go to the next team and then are just aces in the league. That's just. But then you look at the Packer players, and then as soon as they leave the organization, they just crash and burn.
So the problem, they go to the Vikings.
They go to the Vikings and their career is over, or they go to the Raiders and their career is over. So, anyway, Grant, talking about the NHL playoffs before we finish to your rant. But anyway, we'll see what happens with Craig Counsell. Good luck to the Brewers organization if that is the official where they end up going. 7-18, Grant, but plenty of time.
The dream. 7-18, the dream.
7-18, the dream. Is that a shirt? Should we make a shirt for that? Okay.
Yeah. World Series.
We know a guy. We'll make us a shirt. Anyway, Grant, flipping over to the NHL playoffs, the Chicago Blackhawks, Grant, have a 2-0 lead on your second favorite team, the Minnesota Wild. What's going on there?
I'm a little shocked by that, honestly.
Yeah, I am too.
And it's not like the Wild are a bad team at all, but it's I don't know. It's hard for me to put words together because, and it's not like the game. It's not like the game last night was really close. Chicago won 4-1.
Yeah.
So it's bringing into question what's going on with Devin Dubnyk. What's going on with the defense? They normally have pretty strong defense, and their offense is pretty well. They have Zach Parise. He's one of the best players in the league, but it's not showing up. They've dropped the first two games. Granted, it's at Chicago. Chicago's a hard place to play in.
It is.
Chicago is a fantastic playoff team.
Woo!
And trying to, they're definitely not gonna. You're not gonna go into a series against the Chicago Blackhawks and expect a sweep. But you would have expected maybe a win within the first two games. So dropping the first two games is definitely a big concern. But now tomorrow night, you're going back into Minnesota. You'll be at St. Paul, Minneapolis. You'll be at home. You'll be ready to...
You should go to the game.
I'd love to go to the game. Yeah. The tickets are probably extremely
Screw school.
expensive.
We don't need it. It's overrated. I graduate in a week and a half.
You're done.
Down with
you
academics.
Already checked out.
I checked out sophomore year, Grant. Anyway, I want to ask you this quick question. 3 out of the 4 series in the NHL playoffs are at 2-0. Which out of those 3 series is the most surprising to you? Is it the Blackhawks Wild? Is it the Ducks 2-0 over Calgary? Or is it the 2-0 Lightning over Canadiens?
Definitely not Anaheim and Calgary. I kind of expected that to happen.
Yeah, we've kind of mentioned that.
But a little more so than Chicago and Minnesota, I think Tampa Bay over Montreal right now. Tampa Bay is not a bad team. They're a fantastic team with the number 2 seed, depending seeding for NHL playoffs is weird.
Yes.
There's a bunch of different ways you could say it, but the way NHL.com has it, they're the number 2 seed. They're actually not that bad of a team. They could be a number 1 seed if they wanted to. They are 2-0 over the Montreal Canadiens right now, and they just beat them 6-2 last night. So they are on fire right now. It's kind of a question what's going on, because everybody was saying that the Montreal Canadiens, at least when I was, I guess not everybody, but people after watching the Ottawa series was like, whoa, this team could actually do pretty well. And then the New York Rangers, I kind of jumped off the New York Rangers bandwagon and went to the Montreal Canadiens and saying they're a great team, they're going to go all the way, they're untouchable. And that may be because they're a Canadian team. And fans, the thing with Canadian teams as the NHL is they're kind of, it's like a fanboy thing to do. It's whenever there's a Canadian team that goes really deep, everybody freaks out. And so that might be it, but a lot of people have kind of changed from the New York Rangers to the Canadiens, and now the Tampa Bay Lightning are taking it to them right now. 2 games at Montreal. They were at Montreal, not even in Tampa Bay, where Tampa Bay has the whole only people from Florida can come to the games, and you can't wear.
So stupid.
Yeah, you can't
Lord.
can't wear jerseys of the other team. Otherwise, you have to take it off.
I was so mad about that.
Yeah. But
my mom got about 800 phone calls after the show. No, I'm kidding. Like, we need tickets for Florida residents. But yeah. No, I'm kidding. That would have been so funny, though. Anyway, then that last series, though, Grant, the New York Rangers and Washington Capitals, knotted at 1 apiece. Game 3 tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC Sports Network.
That's been a great series to watch.
Is.
I've watched both games. They're really fun. Washington did extremely well the first game. They did pretty well the second game. The first game, Alexander Ovechkin has a absolute laser of a shot.
Oh, my bad.
Upper shelf.
Sorry.
Jeez, can you
I'm sorry.
stop interrupting
I wasn't
me?
trying to. I bumped the screen. I bumped the mouse.
Stop
I'm only
it.
human.
You bumped the screen and the mouse,
I have a touch screen
but then the mouse.
at the same time. Yes,
Oh, that's
I have big
impressive.
hands. Anyway,
Anyway,
hockey talk. Go.
so Ovechkin had a laser of a top shelf goal in the first game, and then it was tied 1-1, and then Joel Ward with 1.4 seconds, I believe, left in the game. From another outstanding pass from Alexander Ovechkin behind the net, went 5-hole on Lundqvist. Alexander Lundqvist? I don't know. Is it Lundqvist?
Lundqvist.
I'm bad.
That's all I ever
I'm
call
bad
him.
with first names,
Lundy.
but he's one of the best goaltenders in the league.
Lundizzle.
Anyway, New York Rangers then came back game 2, winning it 3-2. But then again, Alexander Ovechkin, stop taunting the mouse.
Nothing.
He's taunting the mouse.
I'm waiting for you to finish. So I can hit the
Alexander
button.
Ovechkin had an unbelievable shot. He squeezed through 3 defenders, and then from his knees had an extremely blistering shot to get it past Lundqvist, and with impossible space, he got him far top left corner where I could barely even see that shot when I watched the replay in super slow-mo. So it was one of the best goals I've seen in forever. Go look it up. It was absolutely fantastic. It was a great goal, but New York Rangers took that game 3-2 and it's tied 1-1.
Woo! All right. Sorry. I did not mean to bump the mouse, okay? I've got big hands.
I was talking about Alexander.
I don't know what you want from me.
a big head and little arms.
Yes, exactly. All right, what is that? What was that from the what movie was that?
They go back in time.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know.
we're going to go to not too long ago in the future, Grant, to talk about the NFL draft for
Not
your
too
rant.
long in the future?
Yes.
Okay.
Not too long ago in the past, Grant. Words. You said you're not good with words, and I said I'm not either, and sure enough, that's what happens.
You're never good with anything.
I'm really not. I don't know. I'm over it. Anyway, a minute on the clock, Grant, for your rant today. NFL draft. It's a fun topic. Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready.
On your mark, get set, go.
Excuse me, I can't talk. Gerald
And you
Christian,
say I'm bad with words.
Gerald Christian was the last pick for the Louisville Cardinals, and I actually did not know that, but there is a title called Mr. Irrelevant, and that goes to the last pick of the draft, and they get a special jersey. Somebody comes out and announces it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a whole big deal and everything. Did not know that. They get a trophy called the Losman Trophy, and it's hilarious. It's like the Heisman Trophy, except it's the guy fumbling a ball, and it is absolutely hilarious. They build an entire week I forget where they go, but they go like in some nice warm tropical area, have like a whole big party for it, like an award ceremony, and then they have like a special dinner, and it's a whole week event just spent on this guy that got picked last in the draft. And it's kind of like, it's at one point it's haha, you're the last pick, you're not going to do much, but then at the last time it's like, hey, you got
Time's
drafted,
up.
good job. So I don't know how to feel about that.
I think the trophy name is hilarious. The Heisman and the Lozman. Connor nearly fell out of his seat when he figured that one out. He was like, oh, I get it.
To be honest, I just got that now. Didn't even figure it out.
We work with some real fine individuals here at the Bax
I
and
thought it
Grant
was a
Sports Show.
person. That's what I was.
Who's the Lozman? I was thinking.
I was looking. I was like, was it like a guy named that?
Well, I went back
and
to
couldn't find it.
I went back to the former Packer player J.P. Lossman, so that's who I thought of when I heard Lossman or Lozman. Anyway, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, you heard him. Connor Christensen will be in the studio to talk about the Vikings draft class and offer his fight corner as well. We'll be right back. This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
Baxter is rude, and
I'm
I'm Grant.
not rude.
Baxter is rude.
I am the nicest person you will ever meet.
He's calling me names.
You deserve
Being
it.
mean. What did I do?
You know exactly what you did.
I actually have no idea what I did.
You don't know? You picked a fight with Megan in the first segment. I thought we were
Well,
going to
that's my
toss you off
job.
this. I know it is.
I
know this.
hold an opinion.
I know.
Just because she holds a different one doesn't make me a bad person.
Well, you're not a
Rude
you're not a
person.
yeah. I don't know. Anyway,
Jeez.
it's Monday, which means it's time for Connor Christensen. People you work with. Okay, you can be replaced. My name comes first in the show, so it can be the Bax and Connor show.
Yeah.
BC Sports Show. It's got a nice ring to it. Have a nice day, Grant. Grant has left the studio, which is totally fine because now he won't interrupt Connor as much when he talks about the Vikings. But anyway,
That's true.
Connor,
That's true.
we have you here today to talk about the Minnesota Vikings draft class before we get to your fight corner. What are your thoughts about this year's draft class?
Well, you know, the first day with the first pick, it went to cornerback Trey Waynes, and I came on the show and talked about that a little bit, how it wasn't exactly what I thought they would do, but I was still happy with the pick. Overall, I think that going for the cornerback first round was a good idea. Coach Zimmer is great with defenses. Anything defense, he's just awesome with. So I have no doubt that he'll be able to take Trey Waynes, turn him into a shutdown corner, and, you know, make him into a really, really great player. So moving on, the next person that they drafted was Eric Kendricks, a linebacker out of UCLA. I'm happy with this. They've struggled at the linebacker position in recent years. Chad Greenway is probably in his last year, I would think. I can't imagine him going any further.
You think he doesn't have a lot of time left? I think he's got maybe 2 years, not maybe one.
Well,
he's been struggling with injuries, though.
Yeah, this is going to be his 10th season, and he is... You know, I don't know. If he does go for more than 1 year, I think it'll be 2 years.
Sure.
At most. which is sad.
But he's
'cause
almost done.
He's almost done is the point. So picking up a linebacker was a good idea. I think they needed some help in that position. So I'm hoping that Eric Kendricks is able to be what we need there. And then in the third round, they picked up a defensive end, which when I came on the show months ago and talked about Vikings draft needs, the two lines were
right
kind
after
of
the
what
season finished.
Yeah, right after the season finished, I came on and said that the two lines were kind of where I felt, and I'm no expert by any means, but where I felt that the Vikings needed a lot of help. So seeing that they're going for a defensive end in the third round was a good move. I think they could have gone sooner, but overall, they handled it the way that they did, and I'm still hopeful that they're going to be able to work something with it. And then from here on, we kind of have a trend here where they go defensive end and then offensive lineman. So they picked up an offensive lineman named T.J. Clemmings, and I've heard a lot of good things about him.
He's a big guy.
He's a monster, and
6'5", 309.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll
pretty big.
That'll keep you safe, hopefully, if you're Teddy.
Yes, and that is priority number one, is keeping Teddy safe and sound. Because
Safe and sound. No.
No.
Okay.
Usually yes, but no, not right now. Anyway.
So the next pick, they went with
Oh my gosh, I love his name.
what is it, Michael Pruitt?
Michael.
It's literally spelled M-Y-C-O-L-E.
Is it Michael?
I think it's Michael or Michael.
Michael!
He is a tight end.
He's a big tight end. He's 6'2", 250.
Yeah, that is.
He's a blocking tight end.
See, this
Needless to say.
This was interesting to me because you have Kyle Rudolph. There's no way that Kyle Rudolph is not going to be the starter.
No, I don't see why he wouldn't be.
Kyle Rudolph is.
And you got Brandon Bostic.
I was about to say we have our special teams is set because we have Brandon Bostic, right?
Best onside kick
Perfect.
return you will ever have.
You think with your head. Use it. Okay.
He thought he was a soccer player.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Clear it.
Yeah. No, Brandon, no.
Guys, I got it. But
Anyway, moving on from Bostic. Moving on. I think I don't really know what they're thinking here, picking up a tight end.
Depth. Probably.
I mean,
Aside from
yes.
Rudolph, they don't have really good depth in all
That's
honesty.
true.
is he a
And I
red-nosed
mean-
reindeer?
What?
I also don't know why
Rudolph?
they would get Bostic in the first place. Why,
Stefan is
why,
the-
why would you bring in Brandon Bostic if you're going to draft a tight end?
For depth.
I don't know.
Brandon
Just-
Bostic
they
doesn't
could've
fill the
done
whole.
better. They
Brandon
could've done
Bostic
better.
doesn't fill the whole need though for the Vikings.
Bostic is
Exactly.
a fantastic tight end, so it's like, why not draft somebody? Because Bostic's not going to solve all your problems.
I just don't know.
True.
Why. I just don't know why we picked him up in the first place. Anyway, the Vikings. Whatever.
You guys go back to back with sweet names Michael and Stefan.
Stephon Diggs is the next pick. He's a wide receiver, and I agree
Yes.
that they need. I have things to say here.
I know you do.
No, I think picking up a wide receiver was. You knew that they were going to. I mean, they have. Let me see if I can remember everybody. They have Johnson. They don't have Jennings anymore. They have Wallace. They have Patterson, and they have Wright. And then now they picked up Diggs here to add that extra, like you were saying, depth.
Yes.
At wide receiver. Personally, I've never seen Wright really do anything relevant. So
They must like him for something. Maybe he's just a nice guy in the locker room. I don't know.
hopefully. Anyway, so I think picking up Diggs is good. Hopefully he'll be able to be trained under Wallace and, come up with Johnson and Patterson because they'd be all relatively the same age. So having them all
Yes.
come up together would be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I like the pick. Some people might criticize it. I like it. And then they picked up another offensive lineman, which
Ooh, another big guy.
yeah, 6'5", 324 pounds. Big guy. Very, very big guy. Tyrus Thompson. And like I was saying, the offensive line is where they struggled a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They need strong people anchoring the offensive linemen. So getting Phil Oldholt to teach some of these younger guys how to be offensive linemen in the NFL is a good move, definitely.
Yes. Yep.
And then their next pick, I believe their last pick. Nope. The next pick is B.J. Dubose. He is defensive lineman, 6'4", 284 pounds, another big guy. Honestly, this is now the trend. They go offensive lineman, defensive lineman, offensive lineman, defensive lineman for, I think, the rest of the picks. Their next pick was another offensive lineman. Honestly, I think, they realized where they need it, where they need the help. And then I think this is their final pick, is Edmund Robinson. He's a linebacker, 6'3", 245 pounds. I definitely think that's a good pick. Picking up 2 linebackers. What was it, 3? Or is it 2? 2 or 3 defensive linemen, 2 or 3 offensive linemen. Definitely smart picks in my opinion. I think that Coach Zimmer did a good job with picking what he needed.
Yeah.
And then looking around at what other people think of the Vikings picks, you see I have not seen any grade lower than a B, which to me is, that's good. That's good to see it. The way that the community views what the Vikings are doing. They agree with it. I've seen a lot of A rank or A grades, A-, B, and it's always centered around that. And I agree. I think they did a really good job. I think they hit what they needed to hit, and I think the Vikings will be set. You sent me a text and you were like, they picked up a fullback, and I was like, you talking about the Lions?
Maybe they picked up the long snapper because you were texting me.
My phone was going crazy. It said Vikings picked up a fullback, and it said something about Packers drafted a long snapper. I had no idea what was going on. And then people are like, "What, are you dumb?" And I'm like, "No, I just think my ESPN app is broken."
It must be. You don't have a very smart phone, though. So.
It's not very smart.
Maybe it's the user. Anyway, thank you.
People.
Yeah. All right, Connor, thanks for filling us in on the Vikings.
Yes.
Before we let you go today, we want to chat about your fight corner. With the last time we had with you, the fight of the century, as it were.
Oh, yeah,
the most hyped-up fight that never lived up to its hype, as it were.
Yes.
But from all accounts, people said this is a very Floyd Mayweather fight.
Yeah.
This is exactly how he fights, and people should not have been as critical about it, because if you go to a Floyd Mayweather fight, whether it's Pacquiao, whether it's anybody, he fought exactly how he normally fights.
Yeah, that's true. And Mayweather has... in this generation of boxing, he has proven himself to be one of, if not the best boxer of this generation. And I think that... I
don't think anybody can argue with that.
He also now has every title in the welterweight division. Weight class,
Wow.
I should say. He has every title. And he's 48-0, which I think he's one away from the record there. I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that, but I think he's one away. I think the record is 49-0. From what I was kind of seeing is that if Pacquiao had kind of stayed on him, there were a couple times when Pacquiao had him up on the ropes and he was throwing punches, and then he was so tired that he had to take a step back to catch his breath. Mm-hmm. And if Pacquiao had,
finished him,
he's a boxer and they're really tough, but if he had just kept on at it, who's to say that he wouldn't have gotten a good hit in on Mayweather. But I mean, you are absolutely right. That is just how Mayweather fights. He is so defensive. He'll stand there, take your punches for a little bit, and then just clock you when you're not, when you don't think that he still has it.
And we were talking last night that a lot of people were expecting a KO to see a big bruising fight, and that's not how these guys play. And also bringing into account their age, that Pacquiao has. He's 30. He's 36.
Yeah, I believe
and
so.
Mayweather is 38.
Yeah,
they're not going to be up there absolutely killing each other. They're gonna be playing it a little bit.
This fight would have been
safer.
done 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah,
when they actually had the energy to go more than a few rounds.
And they're both trying to get the win here because it's a big hyped up fight. So they're trying to play it safe, and they're great boxers, and they are generally safer boxers. So I think that the fight, from what I saw, some clips of it, because I wasn't able to watch the whole thing because I didn't want to pay $100 for it. But
why not?
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't exciting, even though it was a defensive game. What the big disappointment for me was, this was a big game for fighting and boxing, but fighting in general, to kind of move up in the ranks, because it's kind of been on the sidelines for sports in general, and this was kind of a big way for it to get brought up, and it didn't live up to its expectations and a lot of people's opinion. I think this in general is going to hurt the sports world. But I mean, look at all the money they made. I think in every second of the fight, they made $186,000 per second.
Like that.
Yeah.
I just when the ticket costs $100 per person to go, and you had some of like the biggest celebrities there. Like, all the famous athletes, all the famous movie stars, they were all there to watch this fight. And it was, you go on Twitter and it's like, they're hugging more than they're fighting. Mm-hmm. Or, you see people saying how underwhelmed they are by the whole thing. And it's just like, boxing needed a restart. And I don't know if this was it. Like, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao are amazing fighters, and they have been some of the best boxers that have ever boxed. But, boxing needs to come up with a way to make boxing important again without them.
Yes.
Because their time has passed. And, even though Mayweather's walking away with, like $160 million and up to 180, and Pacquiao might get 120 million, they're ridiculous amounts of money. And even though they're going to walk away with all this money, they didn't
help the boxing world.
Yeah, exactly.
It was more to help their bank accounts than I think to help the sport as a whole. But anyway, Connor, thank you so much for stopping by. We always appreciate your Vikings insight and your Monday fight corner. Your Monday fight corner.
Like, downgraded here?
No, yes, exactly.
You were traded to the Vikings.
You were. Oh, bummer. Anyway, thank you so much. Where can the people find you on Twitter, sir?
They can find me at ConnorDC126.
ConnorDC126. We will see you again on Friday, sir, for your health tip and start, sit, cut. Have a wonderful rest of your week, sir, and finish school strong.
Yes, you guys too.
Thank you much. All right, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to play Fact or Fiction, and then we will sign off for another edition of the Bax Grant Sports Show. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Bax Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Well, Grant, we've had quite the show today. It's been a lot of fun. It's been full of energy and excitement. We had DairylandExpress.com writer Megan Landvatter jump in to chat about the Packers NFL draft.
Chat or argue,
depending on how you want to view it. We chatted about Ron Roenicke being booted out as the Brewers manager. You gave us some insight on what's going on with the NHL playoffs, and then we just had Connor Christensen as well on to talk about his fight corner and the Minnesota Vikings draft selections as well. All right, Grant, it is Monday, which means we do play Fact or Fiction, and I actually have 3 questions for you today that I actually thought of ahead of time, not, a minute before the show.
If anybody was wondering, last time on Fact or Fiction, 5 seconds before we went on, he's like, by the way, do you have any Fact or Fiction questions? I was like, what? What are you doing?
I know. My bad. All right, Grant. Your first of our 3 Fact or Fiction questions today is Fact or Fiction that Chris Paul's hamstring injury that he sustained in Game 7 of the first round of the NBA playoffs will affect how the Clippers proceed for the rest of the playoffs.
Well, I think fact. Any injury of any kind, really, to any player is going to affect somebody, even though it might not be as, relevant as one might think. It will definitely hurt his performance, and even though it's a slight way, it'll still hurt his performance, and he is their best player. He is their star player, so it is something to keep a very close eye on. Yes, it is unfortunate that it happened, but they did get the win. They do survive going into the playoffs. It was a great final shot. It was almost kind of like a circus shot, but it was a great play. But yeah, I do think it's going to affect them going down the stretch.
I would have to say fact as well. I think Chris Paul's effect on the court is massive, and if Paul is not on the court, the Clippers are a significantly worse team. All right, your second Fact or Fiction question, Grant, is Fact or Fiction that the Chicago Blackhawks will not win another game in the series against the Minnesota Wild?
I think that's fiction. I think it's going to be hard for the Minnesota Wild to win 4 games straight. It's possible. It's definitely possible. If I'm wrong, I wouldn't be surprised. But the Blackhawks are either going to win the series or at least go to Game 7.
Okay. I'm going to have to say fiction as well. I think the Blackhawks are too good of a team, even on the road. Playoff hockey, that's just kind of how their mentality is. Like you said, they're a great playoff team. I wouldn't be surprised if the Blackhawks take the series, in all honesty.
Right.
All right, and then your final fact or fiction question, Grant, is that Brett Hundley, the new quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, is the future for the Packers organization once Rodgers retires.
That's a little tough to say. I'm going to say fiction on that, though, because just looking at... I don't know how he plays. I don't know how well he's going to play in the NFL. You can never tell. 2, Aaron Rodgers is an elite quarterback, obviously, and he's going to be on the field 99.9% of the time, 100% of the time if he's healthy.
Yes.
And it's going to be hard for Brett to get time on the field, especially with Scott Tolzien being there. And then Aaron Rodgers, as we said before, is going to be in the league. We're seeing maybe 7 years, 8 years, if everything goes well, like maximum. So Hundley's not going to be on the team, I don't think, for that long, and he's not going to want to wait. So I'm going to say fiction.
All right. I'm going to say fact. I think he's in a really good spot. The last time a guy from Southern California was brought in to the Packers organization, it turned out pretty well for him, and he's ended up winning 2 MVP awards as well. Get the Aaron and Brett train back together. We'll see what happens with that. All right. Well, Grant, this has been another exciting edition of the Bax Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Remember, let us know your thoughts on anything we chatted about today. You can hit us up on social media at the Bax Grant Sports Show on Facebook, at BG Sports Show on Twitter. Shoot us an email at bgsportshow@gmail.com. Remember, if you take any pictures on Instagram or Twitter or anywhere and you want to have them show up on our show page, use the hashtag the Bax Grant Sports Show. Remember, thank you so much for listening to us right here at 9 a.m. Central on Spreaker.com, and for those of you listening to us on SportsRadioAmerica.com from 12 to 3 Eastern. He's Grant Coppersmith. Big thank you to Megan Landvatter and Connor Christensen for stopping by today. For those of you watching us on theCUBE, thank you so much, and we will see you all again on Wednesday. I'm Baxter Colburn. He's Grant Coppersmith. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Be safe. Be good. And go Packers.